The next version of SketchUp is here with big updates to collaboration, context, documentation, visualization. So if you're in a creation vocation, or if you just want to hear about the next generation of this application, I'm here to start the conversation. Leave us a comment if you want us to make a video on anything in more detail. This is going to be a video version of the release notes, which are linked in the description if you want to read those. And there's also chapters on the video below if you want to skip around. Let's go. Stop. Collaborate and listen to me talk about the new collaboration features in SketchUp. So this lets you gather feedback for a design conversation in context, quickly, and right in SketchUp. So there's private sharing with people to control the privacy of your model. In context comments, meaning like attached to geometry and scene information, and also real-time viewing. So all this together is a lot more collaborative experience of using SketchUp and working with others towards your final design. And here's how it works. So in the top right corner, you can see there's your user icon, there's this collaboration bar icon, and then this cloud icon, which means this model is shared on the cloud on Trimble Connect. If that icon looks like a file icon, you'll need to have your model shared on the cloud on Trimble Connect in order to collaborate over the internet. So once you click this button, if you're not already saved to the cloud, it'll prompt you to, and then you can click this share button here, and then it'll bring up this collaboration bar dialog, which lets you type in people's emails, or if you've already shared with them, it'll autofill, or I just pasted some emails in here. You can notify users with an email, and then you can control their how they can see the model, whether they can view the scenes or whether they can actually add comments. So I'll leave this on comment and I'll type a little message here. Check out the new version. And this will send emails to them inviting them to view the model. To show how this works first, I just have my other account on the right, and then you can see my icon and then my other Matt collaborator icon. When I click on the other one, it snaps me to his camera view here. I can click again on that icon to undo that connection. Or now when he orbits over there, my camera follows his. Now I can also orbit, pan, or zoom on my own view in order to unlink myself from his camera. And alternatively, I can click on my own avatar, which is the blue one with the initials in it, to bring all the collaborators to my camera view. And you can see his camera follow mine here, and you'll notice the PBR materiality does show up because I'm in Chrome, and that's rolling out on other browsers soon. If it's the first time inviting people to your model, you may need to add them to your contacts, which they'll show up, and you kind of review the request here. And here I'm approving the requests from a number of collaborators, and then you'll see them start to pop up in my collaboration bar in the top middle there. And next is comments. So there's a couple different ways to add comments. Either you can click on the comment icon here in the collaboration bar, the comment that's in the toolbar here, or you can search on the Omni bar for add comment right here. Or if I navigate around to the view I want for my comment, you can right click and choose at the bottom, create comment. It will save your camera view at the particular view you were at when you created the comment right here. And then you can also obviously type in text. So this is where I type in text, maybe put a mural here and send. So it takes a little bit to upload, and you can see some of my other collaborators have started adding comments as well. One thing to note that's cool about the comments is that as I click them, it'll bring me to the view that was captured and the objects that were selected, or the hierarchy, the model hierarchy, when the comment was added. This is also scene specific too. So if I wanted to add a scene like an elevation here, I'll just quickly turn off these other tags and create a new scene. Call it elevation. And then now when I create the comment here, it looks like my comments panel is kind of hidden, but once I hit this comment and then move it over, the scene information is saved to the comment as well, is a long way of going towards that. So when I do click on that comment, I go back to the visibility and everything that was included in that scene that I made the comment in. So I'll click another comment here, and if these actual comment icons are clogging up your view, you can hide the comment icons right there and toggle them back on. And in the collaboration bar in the top right, you can see I can toggle off and on cursors as well, just if those people are moving too erratically and really distracting me from leaving my feedback properly. And also there's live editing. So I have my SketchUp on the left that's driving the collaboration session, and on the right is the viewer. So if I wanted to add some interest to this counter group, I could just enter it and then give it a little offset, and then watch how fast the updates come across. Ready? Offset's done. There. Pull it in a little bit. And so seeing the updates of the model are very quick. And of course, you can also change access control to the collaborators after you've granted it. So when I reopen this collaboration sharing dialog box here, you can see I can change my screen on the right there to view scenes only, and then he'll get this error that you have to reload the model because your permissions have changed. So as he reloads the model here, he'll only be able to see a kind of an interactive slideshow of the different scenes. So as I hit next to scroll through, maybe they overinflated their 3D navigation skills, and this is just easier for them to hit next on the slideshow to advance to the next scene and see the model in its full glory without navigating. And we've seen how to give access to people, individual signed in users, that you can control their ability to interact with the model based on the user. But the previous functionality of share a link is still here. So down at the bottom, general access, anyone with the link, you can say view scenes, view model, or no access, and then copy the link just in the bottom left of this dialog for the same way that you would in the past share with a broader audience that you're less concerned about, individual users' privacy. And I mentioned this earlier, but I just want to show it that on the right, I have my web commenter persona, and you can using the select tool, enter into the model hierarchy, and leave comments specifically on a particular piece of the group or component itself. So I'll add a comment here and say maybe we need to change this material. And then once it uploads back in my SketchUp model here, I can see it'll bring me right into that particular context that the comment was left on, so I can tell exactly what piece of the chair they're talking about. And I'll give it a little smiley face. I agree. Next up is updates to Ambient Occlusion, and I'll use this model from a recent SketchUp live stream. Shouts to Eric at Urban Story Studio. So Ambient Occlusion, suppose I like this hidden line style, but I want a little more depth in there. Traditionally in SketchUp, if you want to add ambient occlusion, it, at this normal scale brings a nice depth versus off and on. And you can, adjust the intensity, you can adjust the distance, and that works pretty well at a scale like this. But suppose I'm going to the scale of the entire terrain, and I, even if I crank these all the way up, the intensity and the distance, I'm not seeing anything really in the trees here. That's where this size multiplier comes in. So now I'll drop these back down. When I change the size multiplier up, slowly you'll be able to see the ambient occlusion pull into those trees there. So it just gives you more flexibility, more options for your creative vision. And here I can, play with the intensity and the distance as I would at the traditional scale, but just obviously at this much larger size. One other thing that's cool that we added is using color for ambient occlusion. Before it was just black, but now you can use the color picker to add whatever color you want. Suppose I want a little evergreen in my trees here, a little forest green. Maybe it's more like a blue spruce. I don't know, something like that. looks nice, a little subtle color in there. Or if you want to throw subtlety out the window, the creativity is entirely up to you. So if I want to do something, this ice castle in here, you can really change the color to really get the look, the creative look you're going for. And that is freezing cold. Back in my other model too, the size multiplier goes up, but it also goes down. So if I want to talk about details that are not on a huge terrain scale, but more of a smaller scale, maybe this this mixer deck here, and at this scale, like, the ambient occlusion is nice, but maybe it's a little too intense. And even if I pull these down all the way, I'm not quite getting the control. It's really fine in here. Am I moving it 1 or 2 pixels? So I can move that size multiplier down as well. And then I have a lot more control over what's going on at that smaller scale. And maybe let's toss a little warmth into these shadows here. Yeah. Just gives you more control. Next up in visualization is the invert roughness toggle. So suppose I like the way this material is looking on my steel beam, but it's a little too shiny. So if I sample the material and go to edit it, you can change the roughness, and I'll drag that up in order to be less shiny and shimmery, but it's still not quite, like, you still see some kind of reflection, some shininess going on that I don't want. So if you're ever at the end of a slider all the way and you're not getting the results you want, try invert, and here you can see it's a lot more matte. It's a lot more true to the materiality of this real steel beam would be in real life. So it gives you a little bit more control with roughness. And next is material thumbnail switching. So this is a small one, but highly requested. So previously, when you look in the materials browser at your PBR material, it was always displayed with this cube icon. But now you can right click in here and you can choose whether auto, cube, or flat. Suppose this wicker, it's easier for me to tell what it is from a distance with this flat thumbnail, even though it still has the PBR properties, but it will just display in the materials browser as a flat thumbnail. Next up is updates to the generative AI tool SketchUp Diffusion, which rolled out a little bit ago and is available on desktop and iPad as of the making of this video. On iPad, it's already in there. On desktop, it's an extension that you have to look up on the extension warehouse. It looks like this. Once you install it, then it shows up under your extensions. And this is the version 2 of this tool. So if you're familiar with the first version of it, you'll notice that the very first thing off the bat is a much bigger canvas. You can see everything that's going on in here. Another thing that you'll notice is this, what's called auto prompt. So this is really great because if you've used generative AI in the past, you know that what text you use to prompt it is very important for what output it gives you. And what this auto prompt does is analyzes your scene based on the SketchUp viewport and then comes up with a prompt based on what it sees in here, right? Modern cafe interior, et cetera, et cetera. So this is really cool. You can obviously edit this if you want. You can have it redo the auto prompt. And then there's also additional settings for negative prompt. Let's run this and see what it gives us just based on the auto prompt. And I'm going to speed this up just for the sake of the video so we're not sitting here watching me waiting for the AI. And the first thing you'll notice if you're used to the previous version is that this does respect your materials. You know, Justin on our team spent a lot of time putting in the right color materials and everything. And then this color mask strength will will let you control how much or how little it respects the materials that are in your model. You know, you get a couple different versions you can pick from here. Actually, like this first one, kind of this painterly look here. Okay, and you'll see a couple new tools on the bottom. I'll skip around to different ones right now. Suppose I like the look of this and how AI interpreted my materiality and everything, but I want some coffee cups here. Your order's up, your order's ready. And I don't want to model them or go to 3D Warehouse or whatever. I just want to add them right in here. So I'll go to this brush tool, and here you can add your prompt, your negative prompt, either change your brush, how big it is, or you can do a lasso select for the area. So I'll just do a brush, maybe move this diameter up just a little bit, and say right here is a good spot. And I want 2 matching to-go coffee cups in a modern cafe setting. And let's see what we got here. Those are some big, those are some big coffees, but maybe they got the extra large. Oh yeah, they really need the extra caffeine today. So those are some big ones. You can give a thumbs up or a thumbs down to any results that you do or don't like. Let's take a look at another example. So next is the sketch tool. I like how this patio is looking, but some keen, insightful commenter said that this would look better with a mural. So I'll use the sketch, and I'm going to draw a mural in. I have a kind of a rough idea, and I'm using my mouse. So don't judge me on how I draw this mountain scene here with my mouse. Let's be honest, even if I had a tablet, it would not look very good, but you don't need a lot of detail for the sketch tool to give you a good result. So I'll just look up or prompt it urban mural of mountain landscape, colorful, and sunset. And let's see how it looks. And of course, this mural that I drew here is 2D. This works with 3D sketches too. Not that I would be able to sketch very well with my mouse, but this works in 2D or 3D. So I just wanted to let you know that when you're using this tool, hey, go for that next dimension, man. And here we have a couple different options. What do we see? Oh, that looks cool. This one just looks like a picture. Yeah, I like the middle one. So yeah, let's move forward with that. I'll give it a thumbs up, and then you can also click this to add it to your scene as you did before in the previous version of Diffusion. So you can save it in your model to see later. And it will create a scene with an overlaid picture of the render. As I flip back to the scene so you can see my AI handiwork here. And the last tool I'll talk about here is the erase tool. So maybe I like how this AI render turned out, but a lot of times you'll get some unexpected results. Maybe I don't like this school bus or this this red truck distracting from the story of my building here. So I'll just hit erase, and then again you have the brush or lasso. I'll use lasso this time. So just lasso around the old school bus here, and this red food truck as well. And no prompt this time, just getting rid of it. So I'll generate, and a couple different options here. That one looks fine. Just getting the idea across, but really focusing all of the attention on my building. And also there's this gallery on the right, which will save recent renderings that you've done up to 30 days in the past. So you can go back to previous ones and iterate on them in the gallery on the right. And another cool thing you can do with SketchUp Diffusion is to use a reference image instead of a prompt. So here I'll actually turn this auto prompt off and go no style. And then you have this option to add a reference image. So I like the look of this watercolor here. If you have a studio where you have kind of a back catalog of visualizations you've done, or in this case, I just found a stock image that I like the vibe of, that I want to see my little co-working space visualized in. My co-working space, Justin on our team made this model, but I can add a little extra prompt here, and then it'll gather information from the reference image and use that to generate the AI visualization. And here we have a couple different options in the style of the watercolor of the image that I uploaded. So yeah, I say check it out for yourself. The tool is there. It's included in the subscription. So give it a shot and see if you like what you get. Next is performance improvements. Hard to show, but not going to stop me from trying. So the first thing that's improved is model opening performance, so reducing that initial memory spike when you load especially large models. Second is lower memory overhead for components, which results in less wasted memory. And third in memory improvements is just for Windows version, but you might notice an improvement in graphics resource handling, making memory more efficient, which when it comes down to it just means fewer crashes and freezes, especially if your computer has less RAM and you have a really large model you're working on. So hopefully this is just a more pleasant experience that's under the hood, but you really notice it. And then also working efficiency has been improved, kind of a more fluid experience of using SketchUp. So selecting stuff, just doing selection boxes is a lot faster. Entering and exiting components is a lot faster. Transitioning between scenes is a lot faster. We've seen an 86% improvement in frames per second when you're transitioning between scenes. Also, zoom extents, of course, is a popular command. This model is not particularly large, but some really, really big models will take a while to zoom extents, and that we've seen a 90% speed improvement when going out to zoom extents. So, hey, check it out for yourself. If you work with the large models, you're going to notice it. And the last performance improvement piece I'll talk about is purging unused tags. So I'll just go to this Purge Unused, and bang! Did you see that? No, because it's so much faster. Especially if you bring in third-party models that have, a bunch of tags that are not used. This could take a long time before, but now this is much faster because it is optimized. Next up is Sizable live components. So here's a story for you. The client wants to know, what would this look like with kind of an opening, windows that fold open and closed? Hey, lucky for us, I have a live component that does just that. And so let me just get it into place here. If you're not familiar with what live components are, they're parametrically configured models that you can change the parameters on in order to fit the exact model you're looking for. So if I double click on this, you'll see all the different parameters that I can change. And previously, if I wanted to, fit this to this opening, I could, drag this height. This is what I would do, is like eyeball it. But probably the best way to do this is to use the tape measure, right? Measure the opening. So I'll just measure this opening real quick. Of course, my model units are feet and inches, so then I have to go change my units and then come back and type it in millimeters. But not anymore. Not with Sizable live components. This is great. So I just select the component and then hit S for scale. And then I just grab the little handle here and pull it to Inference geometry on the opposite end of the window. And here it is. It pops right into the right size. Everything is scaled right. How many windows do I need? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's good. And then there we go. Now I can see, let's fold this in too, actually, now that I think about it, so that I don't hit these bushes. And then we can see what this would look like open or closed. And I should mention here too that not all live components are sizable, but keep an eye on the SketchUp content library in 3D Warehouse for updates on which ones are, as I match the materials to the existing model. But yeah, hey, let's open these up. It's a beautiful day out. Also for live components is how materials are applied. So I have this same sofa, this live component, in 26 on the left and SketchUp 2025 on the right. For demonstration purposes only, I'll use this nice picnic blanket, and you can see kind of some unexpected results, but in 26, I'll apply the same material, and you get a lot more ordered results out of applying materials to live components. Next in modeling improvements is scale grip visibility. These chairs are too darn big. So I'll select it and scale it, and even though it's behind the wall here, I can still see the scale grips, so I can still scale it down without having to navigate around and look at that scale grip or use back edges or something like that. Next is a little quality of life improvement. If you've used SketchUp 2025 and used these rotation grips with the rotate tool, you know that if you locked to a plane previously, those grips would still show up and they could kind of get in the way and it would inference off that. So now when you're locked to a plane with the rotate tool, those rotation grips go away and you can rotate right away. And next is improved inferencing with background geometry. So if you select a group or component and then you want to inference something that's behind it, it will turn translucent like this, so you can still inference even though there's geometry kind of in your way of seeing it. Undo and redo scenes. Has this ever happened to you where you're working really quick, you're getting all your tags set up for your scene, you got your perfect camera location, and you got all your settings dialed in exactly, and then you go to update the scene and oh no, just updated the wrong one. Now I gotta go back to interior view 2 and try to match the camera and settings I had. Where was it? Back over here somewhere? Aha, not anymore, not in 2026. You can just undo update scene. And now my interior view 2. Yeah. Oh, it was that guy's. That's the right scene. And back at the coffee bar. Hey, we're good to go. There are some new DWG import options. So I have 2025 on the left and 2026 on the right. I have this DWG that I just imported in 2025. But when I look at the outliner, the model hierarchy is kind of non-existent. Everything just gets brought in together. Another thing that you'll see too is when I orbit, sometimes you'll see these, if you're used to working with DWGs, some kind of artifacts where stuff is not 100% coplanar, and that can be an issue when you're working with it. So to remedy this issue in 2026, when you go to import, and I'll choose the same DWG under the configure option here, you have the option to toggle this import layers as groups, so the DWG layers will be brought in as SketchUp groups, and also import line work flattened, meaning that all the geometry, the line work is set to 0 on the Z axis. So once we hit OK and then import that, get the familiar dialog telling you all the entities that were imported. And then here I have that same DWG, but in the outliner you can see that it respected the hierarchy of the layers from the DWG, and also everything here is coplanar. So that is very helpful for anybody who's working with DWGs. Next in DWG is exporting 3D DWGs with SketchUp sections. So I have this model and it has a section. When I exported this out of SketchUp 2025, unfortunately that section was not reflected, was not respected in the 3D DWG export. Now in SketchUp 2026, I have the same model with the same section, and I export the 3D DWG, and that section plane is preserved in the 3D DWG export. On DWG Import, polylines are imported as welded SketchUp curves, as you can see here. So no disconnected segments, it's all connected in a welded curve. The IFC Export out of SketchUp has also been streamlined. So if I go to Export 3D Model, and you'll notice before there was different 2.3 and 4 IFC exports, but now just one IFC from here. And then in the options, you can choose from this drop-down, which you don't have to change the model classification. And then there's also this toggle for standard IFC spatial hierarchy, meaning if your outliner doesn't contain essential entities to IFC, this option will create those for you. And I'll hit export. And there we go. Easy. Next up is updates to trays and panels on Windows. So previously, if you wanted to change the panels that were in your tray here, you would have to go to Window, Manage Trays, you select the tray, you toggle on what you want and what you don't want. But now in SketchUp 2026, it's much easier. So you actually just right-click anywhere in any of your trays, right-click, and then you can select which panels you want or don't want in your tray. You can also drag these out. Just click and drag any of these panels right out, and it'll create this temporary tray with your panel. So that's easy to do. I'll grab scenes here too. And then you can also right click. So if I want, this is a temporary tray, but if I want to make it permanent, I right click and then say make tray. So I will make this a permanent tray and then go ahead and rename it as well. And I'll just rename this model organization. All right, nice. And I'll throw it over on the left side here. And this particular thing isn't new, but you know, with so many easy ways to make new trays, it's cool to toss a keyboard shortcut on these trays too. So I'll just search for the name of the tray here, organization, toggle visibility, add a shortcut, and then now I can quickly, you know, navigate around my model. I can have a nice big viewport, and then if I want to change some of the organization, I'm trying to show you a nice workflow with having multiple trays open, but also preserving your screen real estate. With so many new trays you're going to make, you know, it's going to be useful to have them in and out. There's more control with Purge Unused now. So you can go to the Edit menu and Purge Unused Assets, and then you get to pick which assets, you know, if you have a template that has some certain assets that you don't want to purge, you can select not to purge those unused. Check it out, just more control on what you purge, what you don't. Next up is Reset Authorized Devices. So if you've used SketchUp in the past and you have a number of machines that you use for your work, you may have seen a similar message to this, where in the past you would have to open up a web browser, go into your account, deauthorize your other devices, come back to SketchUp, and then be able to open up and start modeling. Now you don't have to deal with any of the web browser business. You just click continue here, you'll be signed out of your other devices, and you can just get right to work. Moving on to better context with Scan Essentials and Add Location. So I'll start with Scan Essentials. So I have this point cloud here, and I have some geometry that I've modeled based off the point cloud. Let's turn this point cloud off so you can see it here, but it's kind of boring and bland, just white. But now, hey, I'll just select this wall group, and I have project texture from point cloud, project point cloud as texture. So I'll just click on that, and it'll give me some options based on, you know, the quality and detail of your scan. You can mess with these sliders to get better results, but I'll just use this and hit create texture. And you can see the point cloud just projects directly onto the SketchUp geometry, but just makes it quicker for, you know, getting some real life color and context into your geometry, your SketchUp geometry, if you don't want to keep using the point cloud for that RGB color information. A while ago, Scan Essentials got the ground mesh tool. Now we have the surface mesh tool. So you can identify a selection for this tool, or you can also have geometry. In this case, it's just a rectangle, but it could be any geometry. And essentially it extracts SketchUp geometry from the point cloud. So it makes a mesh out of like a SketchUp geometrical mesh out of your point cloud. So let's see what that looks like. Turn the cloud off, and you can see this facade of this building come to life in 3D. So I don't even need the point cloud anymore because I have this nice looking mesh, and I'll actually, to make it a little bit more nicer looking, I'll soften and smooth it. So that's cool. Another big request that people had with Scan Essentials was to be able to control the visibility of the point cloud within scenes, right? So different scenes can have different settings for the visibility of the point cloud, and now you can. So you can see as I switch between the scenes here, the point cloud opacity goes all the way down. So, you know, all these settings can be assigned to a particular scene. So when you make a new scene or update it, that will be reflected in the settings of Scan Essentials. So that is really cool. Different scans, different stations that you want on or off, depending on a particular scene. Now you can do that. So that's great. And one thing I should note too is that it's saved in the environment settings part of the scene. So you want to make sure that the environment settings checkbox is on so that any changes you make to the Scan Essentials point cloud visibility will be reflected in your different scenes. And you might be saying, what about layout? Yes, this works with layout too. So if you have a SketchUp viewport that has a related scene, the Scan Essentials point cloud visibility information is also translated over to layout as well. So you have your different scenes and you don't have to go in and toggle them off for your particular viewport. And one thing that I know is important when you're working with point clouds or with geo-referenced data is being able to have that located at a specific location and replicating that, whether you're handing the model off with the scan and being able to line it up with other imports or stuff like this. So in this case, I had to transform the position of the point cloud in order to match up with my model here. But now in the new version of Scan Essentials, I can select this reset transformation with models. And that way, right here. And so that way, when I do, export this model, or when I import a different point cloud that has the same, origin reference as my original point cloud, everything lines up and I'm not, spending time trying to readjust everything to line stuff up. So that is really important. And now you can do that with Scan Essentials. And also in context, this is not like brand new, but it's definitely new since the last release, is updates to add location where you can import 3D buildings. So I'll type in an address of a place that is hilly and also has buildings. So let's go Auckland, New Zealand. I'll go ahead and grab the geolocation and add some context here. And the first thing you'll note is that there are buildings on here, and you can, as you drag the selection box here of how much information you're trying to bring in, the buildings that are overlapping that box will be selected and they'll be imported. Let me just grab a little bit extra, couple more buildings in here. But so that's cool. And then you can see the 3D buildings toggle is on, and then there's some options here with this nice little infographic, so I can choose where the building is positioned on the terrain, midpoint or high point, and then also whether or not I want to include the foundation here, or I can have a separate foundation so it comes in as two pieces. So that's nice. Speaking of the buildings, you can, if you have a flat site, import the building footprints as well, so just a basic outline or a detailed outline. In my case, I'm not going to do a flat site, just show the elevated site. So I don't need that. And the other things are the same as before. So I'll go ahead and import site context, and this will bring in the terrain, the map, and the buildings all in one. And here it is. You can see the terrain and the buildings that are embedded within it in 3 dimensions. So this is a nice way to just get these context buildings in here quickly, and you don't need to use a third-party software. It's all within SketchUp. Add location. And one cool thing about how the information is imported too is that it's in this nice tag folder structure. So you can see the 3D buildings are all in a tag, and then they're all grouped separately. So if I wanted to, control the visibility, or go ahead and delete these or whatever, they're all grouped separately. So nice and organized, and that's the way I like it. All right, documentation. Now we're finally getting on to layout. This first piece is just for Windows users on layout, but the UI is updated to have a much more SketchUp-y look and experience. The trays work the same way, where you can right click on here and then include or exclude anything you want. You can drag out panels, you can make trays with those. So I know the SketchUp model panel obviously is a very important one, so I can rename this the model tray, and I can always have this up or available when I need it, and still have the other panels there to work on my document. And also the toolbars and the tools, up here work in the same way as they do in SketchUp. So you can right click and add or remove toolbars. You can pull them out if you want floating toolbars here. So yeah, just a nice consistent way of working between SketchUp and LayOut. And for all versions of LayOut, there is also improvements on the memory performance for LayOut's hidden line renderer, which is used in vector and hybrid viewports. So I'll show you changing it. You know, you'll experience the difference when you do it on your own models or your own documents here, but I'll just switch this to hybrid and you can see how snappy it is to get that nice clean line work. So we've seen up to 2 times performance improvements based on our internal benchmarks. Check it out for yourself and see how much faster vector and hybrid rendering are in LayOut now. There are also 4 new drafting tools in LayOut: trim, extend, fillet, and chamfer, which make just for a much more smooth experience when you are using LayOut as a drafting tool. Maybe you're starting in 2D based off a hand-drawn plan. You know, a lot of people are not necessarily going from the SketchUp 3D model to LayOut. Sometimes you're starting in 2D, and so as I kind of rough in a couple lines in here, you know, this is kind of a mess of lines, but I know that they're all at the proper dimensions and everything. So I need to do a little cleanup. So I can use this trim command, and then I can just see the highlight of where those will be trimmed. And then same thing with extend. If I want to extend this line that way, I can just click on that and it'll bring it to the next piece of line work. And let's go ahead and clean up some of these extra lines here. And then also fillet and chamfer. So I'll show how that works. So I'll go for the fillet here. I'll click on the first line, and then you can see it shows you what your radius is. I'm actually going to change that to 6 foot here, and then click on that second line, and then that'll be applied. And then, you know, that's remembered, so I can do that again, that same one. Or I can chamfer it in the same way. So if I go back to the old chamfer tool here, and then click on that first line, and then it'll do like a 45-degree cut between these two, and then I can specify the length as well right there. And here are some examples of a more professional use of these drafting tools in LayOut. So I know if you're drawing a lot in LayOut, you know that this is going to speed you up real quick. The next cool update to LayOut is with scrapbooks. So if you're not familiar, scrapbooks are kind of pre-made assets that you can drop into your model. There are new plan view scrapbooks, windows, kitchen and bath, some, you know, furniture and things. And there's also some plan view people as well that are new in here. So let's suppose I want to add some doors to these exterior doors. I'll change the scale to the proper scale and move it down here. And just a quick, easy way to add some details to your floor plans with scrapbooks. There have also been some big changes with LayOut's interoperability with DWG in 2026. So when I go to export as DWG in the options, I can now export each page as a separate DWG file. So that's helpful. Also, of course, you have your SketchUp tags being able to be shown through your SketchUp model viewport in LayOut. Now, when you go to export a DWG and you go in the options and you have this export entities as color by layer, when you export the DWG, then in AutoCAD, those SketchUp tags are exported as DWG layers. And so here you can see that those layers are all in here. I can turn them off and you can see. You can also, of course, change those to be whatever standards you're used to working with, whatever colors you use for specific layers. So that is a significant change for people using LayOut for DWG export. If you have a layout workflow where you stack SketchUp viewports on top of each other, and in the past, before 2026, if you've exported those to DWG, you know that they kind of don't stack in the export. But now with SketchUp 2026, with stacked SketchUp viewports in layout, you export that, and then the DWG will show what you'd expect, all the viewports stacked on top of each other. And there's text, hatch, and table improvements exporting to DWG, so proper AutoCAD table elements with fonts and borders, and better imports of these elements as well. And also enhanced broken line and curve export for layout DWG export. So a lot of pieces in here that if you use DWG in your layout workflow, your life is going to be a lot easier. Oh, right. A lot of new stuff in there. What are you most excited for? Leave us a note in the comments. I say give it a download and try it out for yourself too. That way you can see how well these new features fit into your workflow, which we think they will very well. I've linked the release notes and the What's New page in the description if you want to check those out for more information. And I would subscribe to our YouTube channel too if you're watching this far, just to keep up to date on everything new with SketchUp. Yeah, we appreciate you watching and have a great day.